Imagine an ordinary evening, an ordinary kitchen. Husband and wife are drinking tea. On the table lies an envelope with DNA test results. He took it 3 days ago, secretly, without warning. Just a swab from the inside of his son's cheek while he was asleep. And now, the result. He opens the envelope, reads, stays silent. Then he looks at his wife as if he's seeing her for the first time in his life. Not with love, with a question. 10 years of marriage, 2 kids, a shared mortgage, shared memories, shared plans for old age. And all of it, in just 5 minutes, crumbles to dust. But here's the interesting part. There's no clear villain in this story, because behind every such test lies something far deeper than simple distrust. And today, we're going to figure out exactly what that is. Hi, today we're talking about one of the most painful and taboo topics in family psychology, paternity tests, about why men take them, what happens to the family afterward, and whether it's even possible to survive such a blow from both sides. This topic is uncomfortable. It touches everyone, men, women, children. But that's exactly why we need to talk about it honestly, without judgment and without rose-tinted glasses. Stay until the end, because in the finale, there will be concrete steps that actually help families survive this. A paternity test is a genetic analysis that determines the biological relationship between a father and child with 99.9% accuracy. Technically, it's just a cheek swab. Psychologically, it's a grenade thrown into the middle of a family. According to international laboratories, 10 to 30% of paternity tests yield unexpected results, meaning every third or fourth man who doubted was doubting for a reason. That's a huge number. In America, tens of thousands of such tests are conducted annually, and the number grows every year, largely because you can now take a test anonymously, quickly, and cheaply.
But statistics are just the tip of the iceberg. The real question isn't how many, but why and what happens next. First, the seed of doubt. It doesn't start with the test. It starts with a small thought that a man might even be ashamed to think, what if the child isn't mine? This thought can come out of nowhere, from a casual comment by a mother-in-law, from a photo where the child doesn't look like dad, from an anonymous message online, or from a real affair, known or suspected. Psychologists call this an intrusive thought. It arrives uninvited and starts living a life of its own. The person tries to push it away, but it keeps coming back, again and again. And at some point, the only way to silence it becomes to test. Second, a culture of distrust. We live in a world where affairs are not rare, but normalized in the media landscape. TV shows, talk shows, news, everywhere there are stories of betrayal. Social media gives endless access to strangers. And gradually, many men develop a mindset, trust but verify. Not because the wife gave a reason, but because that's how the world works. It's not paranoia, it's learned anxiety. And it destroys relationships long before the envelope with results appears. Third, a trigger from the past. Very often, behind the test lies not the present, but the past. A man who was once betrayed by a first wife or girlfriend. A man who grew up in a family where the father found out about the mother's affair. A man whose friend ended up in the same situation, raising another man's child for years. Someone else's pain becomes a personal fear. And this fear, absolutely real, absolutely understandable, pushes a person toward the test as the only way to feel in control of the situation. Fourth, a relationship crisis.
Sometimes the test isn't about the child, it's about the relationship. When a couple has accumulated a lot of unspoken things, resentment, emotional distance, the feeling that the partner has become a stranger. The test becomes a way to express distrust that the person doesn't know how to put into words. It's destructive, but humanly understandable. Fifth, legal and financial motives. A separate story when the test is done not out of emotion, but out of calculation. Divorce, alimony, inheritance. There's less psychology here, more law. But the pain is no less, especially for the child, who at some point finds out they were tested. Now let's look inside. What happens in the heads of both partners at the moment the test is taken, or when they find out about it? In the man who decided to take the test, the amygdala activates, the center of anxiety and threat. The brain perceives uncertainty as danger and demands an answer. This is literally a physiological reaction, not a character flaw, not paranoia. Cortisol, the stress hormone, spikes off the charts. The person can't think about anything else. For the woman who finds out about the test, especially if she's done nothing wrong, what happens is what psychologists call betrayal trauma. It's a specific type of psychological trauma where the person you trusted violates that trust. The brain's reaction is the same as during a physical threat: shock, numbness, then anger, or complete emotional shutdown. Interesting fact, studies show that betrayal trauma activates the same brain regions as physical pain. So, it hurts isn't a metaphor, it's literally true. And here's the paradox: both people suffer at this moment. One from anxiety and uncertainty, the other from the feeling that her life, her honesty, her love have been called into question. And both are completely alone in their pain.
Who are these people? Let's leave stereotypes behind. Most often, men with an anxious attachment style decide to take the test, those who are generally prone to doubt and double-checking. Often, these are people with past experiences of betrayal, personal or family-related. Also at risk are couples going through a crisis, after the birth of a child, after moving, after financial hardships, when intimacy has decreased and distance has grown. A separate category, fathers influenced by their environment, friends, forums, online videos, where the topic of someone else's children is presented as a widespread phenomenon and almost a norm. And, important to say, this isn't just a story about bad or distrustful men. Among those who take the test, there are people with genuine grounds for doubt, and that's also a truth that cannot be ignored. What happens after? Regardless of the result, nothing stays the same. If the test confirmed paternity, you'd think you could breathe a sigh of relief. But the woman already knows. Her husband doubted, secretly, without a conversation. This is a crack that doesn't just disappear. Trust is fragile, and I just checked doesn't restore it. If the test shows the child isn't biologically related, it's a catastrophe on multiple levels. Psychologically, the man experiences acute grief and betrayal. The woman, shame, fear, sometimes relief that the secret is out. The child, if they find out, suffers a blow to their identity. Who am I now? Socially, family breakdown, conflicts with relatives, sometimes a public scandal. Physically, chronic stress from such a conflict literally impacts health. Blood pressure, immunity, sleep. This isn't an exaggeration, it's a medical fact. And separately, children. Even if they don't know the details, they feel the tension. Children always feel it. Can you survive this? Yes, it's hard, it takes time, but it's possible. Here's what actually helps. Step 1. Stop the reaction. Don't make hasty decisions. The first days after the revelation are shock. Any decisions made during this period will likely be driven by pain, not reason. Give yourself time to just breathe. Step 2. Individual therapy for each person. Not couples therapy right away. First, each person needs to process their emotions separately. Cognitive behavioral therapy works well for anxiety and intrusive thoughts in men. For women dealing with betrayal trauma, EMDR therapy is effective, a method for processing traumatic memories. Step 3. An honest conversation, but with rules. No yelling, no accusations, but a structured dialogue, preferably with a psychologist as a moderator. Each person speaks about their feelings, not about the partner's actions. I feel betrayed instead of you betrayed me. Step 4. Working on trust as a skill. Trust doesn't return on its own. It must be rebuilt through small actions every day. It takes time. It requires effort from both, but it's possible. Step 5. Protecting the children.
Whatever happens between the adults, children must not become part of the conflict. If the child is old enough and the question of paternity arises, the conversation should be led by a specialist, not by parents in an emotional state. Step 6. Accept that the family may change, but it doesn't have to fall apart. Some couples grow closer after such a crisis, because for the first time they speak truly honestly. It's not a guarantee, but it's a real possibility. A paternity test isn't just a medical procedure. It's the moment when everything hidden comes to the surface. Fears, distrust, pain, secrets. And there's something paradoxically valuable in that. A crisis is always a turning point, a moment of choice. You can choose destruction, or you can choose honesty. Real, painful, but alive.
If you're going through something similar right now, know this: you're not alone, and the fact that it hurts is normal. It means you still care. Write in the comments, do you think trust can be restored after something like this? I'm genuinely interested in your opinion. If this video was helpful to you, please like it. It helps the channel grow. And subscribe. There are many more honest conversations ahead about what really happens inside families. See you soon.